Hey guys, so I just trimmed up my 20-gallon long after a month of growth. I did trim it one other time actually about 2 weeks in because it needed it, and I kind of neglected it a bit. Um, kind of wanted to see how much it could produce before it kind of stopped providing enough CO2. The substrate I made because that's kind of my specialty is making good substrate for these planted tanks, and I don't want to cut it down much more than this, even though this is, you consider this pretty heavily planted, I suppose, because you have all the bacteria in the substrate that's making the CO2, and you don't want to shake up the ecosystem too much, because what you have here is essentially a nicely balanced ecosystem. When you're not working with fertilizers or CO2 or a filter, you're relying on lots of processes within the aquarium, which is now its own kind of more of an ecosystem than your normal aquarium with a CO2 system, with gravel and with a filter. Also, I have other special bacteria that I've added in there, as you probably are aware from my other videos. So you don't want to change the ecosystem up too great, too much, basically. But here is the plants. Here's all the plants that I trimmed. I mean, this is just, I don't know how many, but this is a month of growth. So we know that one, I definitely have enough nutrients, or the plants just wouldn't be growing. I have enough CO2, or they wouldn't be growing. And they're getting enough light, or they wouldn't be growing. I don't think they really could have grown any quicker than what they have been doing. My fish are happy. Tank is cycled pretty quickly, about half the time, and I didn't have any algae problems or biofilm. Really, it showed up very briefly until I added ghost shrimp, and they just kind of skimmed it and scavenged it and took care of that. But with this level of plant growth, you're not going to have algae problems unless you're doing something drastically wrong with your fertilizer or lighting. So yeah, what I just wanted to share with you the growth and basically what's possible without a CO2 system. And you can really do anything you want with a planted tank. You don't need a CO2 system. If the sky's the limit, basically, if you have the proper substrate, which I'm going to put the recipe and tips and tricks and how to make your own unique specialized substrate if you wanted to. Once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple. But for example, I have different substrates for closed and open systems, depending on. See that's some CO2 right there. You can tell because if you smell it, it will not smell like rotten eggs. That's hydrogen sulfide. That's anaerobic activity, or it might be methane. It's probably a little bit of methane, but you can't smell that, and I wouldn't be able to tell. But it doesn't smell like anything. And that's how it's all getting its CO2. So yeah, that's my 20-gallon long, 1 month in, and this is the kind of growth that you can still get. I mean, it's just incredible without a CO2 system. So you don't need an expensive system, just the right substrate, which will actually give you many more benefits than just CO2.